Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Josh or Milky, and it's been some time since I made a Path of Exile 2 video, but with the next league literally 3 days away, but it's about time I get my, a video just saying what I'm going to be up to, if I'm going to update the max roll guides, all that kind of stuff, and the answer is of course yes. I'll be starting out as kind of Ice Strike, going into the normal stuff that I like to play with Tempest Flurry and Falling Thunder, and we're actually going to be able to do that a bit sooner this league. So there's some changes been made to the builds that I like to play, which we can see here. I've noted them all down. I won't bore you with too many of the details, but the big thing for us, and there's making me think maybe we can jump off of Ice Strike and onto the Falling Thunder setup sooner, is this change to Soul Springs. Because we're going to get 50% meta skill reservation efficiency. So we only need 170 energy to pop off instead of 220, which is a big difference. Sorry, the difference between a chest on Invoker that gives you enough evasion and energy shield to get to 220 or even more spirit, it's a big difference. So we're going to be able to get onto this setup much sooner, as early as I would say third lab. And we can swap onto the setup that ends up being the engine for how we generate power charges on this build. So before we go into all that, I will show you the build in action, as not all of you will have seen me play it, I imagine. This is a build I've played every league now. It's had like different forms. Last league was probably the best iteration of kind of the Falling Thunder setup I've ever had. But obviously there was crazier things in the past with obviously the proliferating Heralds and Tempest Flurry and all that. But last season was really fun with how easy it was to just get power charges and keep them. If you look at the top left of your screen right now, just watch those power charges. Okay, they just do not go below 6. I'll just kill everything, bang, sprint, bang. I hit the wall there. So that's one annoying thing about Falling Thunder. But you can see the idea of this build is just to run around and Falling Thunder. Obviously this is a nice map for it. It does work perfectly well in indoor maps, assuming you're not literally hitting the wall with it, because if you hit the wall with your staff lock like this, you actually consume the hit and you won't get the projectiles, which is incredibly annoying. I wish they'd change that. So the actual engine for this is, as you can see, Profane Ritual. When I kill something, I will generate energy for my cast on crit, which will then cast Profane Ritual, which will consume a corpse and give me a power charge. It can also give me endurance and frenzy charges due to the higher level support gem. And that gives me buffs from charge regulation. So all these things feeding into one another. That's the engine that I've chosen to generate charges. There are many different ways. A lot of people doing a lot of different things. Falling Thunder is arguably one of the strongest skills in the game. I think it's super slept on, even now with how good it was last league. I think it's just super duper slept on as like a clear skill, as you've just seen. I just walk through the map, Falling Thunder, everything's dying, not a thing to worry about. So yes, you can do things like Vol's Devotion. Yes, you can do things like even like Tamer with Resonance, Combat Frenzy, Siphoning Strike, the new Wyvern skill to generate power charges. Plenty of way to generate charges, but the way I chose to do it is that cast on crit Profane Ritual, which is why it's important to get that mana reservation efficiency on our trigger skills, because this costs 100 spirit. It does get reduced by the quality. You can see 10% increased reservation efficiency, but then another 50% from the ascendancy, whilst simultaneously generating more energy by virtue of being Invoker and taking this node, means you're going to generate a ton of power charges. Perfect. The other benefits of Invoker, obviously, is that you don't need to get spirit, and you also get like a built-in crit ignores enemy elemental resistances, which when Rakiat is in the game, yes, isn't always the best, but it does mean you can gear in different ways. I don't know. It's a very strong node, even with Rakiat is in the game. But you can also go like Unbound Avatar. If you want to go more defensive, Protect Me From Harm did get buffed, and you can still get to like 75 evasion and PDR, so this is still really strong. You get really tanky. But that's why Invoker for me. So that's the engine. Profane Ritual, cast on crit, proccing off Falling Thunder, which uses Nova projectiles to fire the projectiles in a full 360 around my character. This is also a huge reason why the skill is going to be better next league. The taglines there that say supported skills fire 4 additional projectiles and that you deal 40% less damage are being removed. It's just going to cause the 360 coverage. And that means that instead of what right now you just saw, imagine that was, 0.6 damage. Next league, I'm going to be doing 1. So I'm going to be doing 66% more damage in maps with Falling Thunder, which is absolutely insane. Obviously on a single target, you just wouldn't use Nova Projectile, so it's not really changing anything single target wise. But in terms of mapping, you're 66% more damage, literally. Very, very huge buff to the mapping of this skill, which, to be fair, it did already have insane mapping. But with the game, the mobs getting tankier, this kind of means we're going to just outscale that, right? So it shouldn't really look any different than what you've just seen. Herald of Thunder is a large part of this build as well. You may be thinking, well, Milky, that got nerfed, so it's going to ruin this build for you. Absolutely not. So the damage did get nerfed, but the reason this is important is because of, again, cast on crit. Herald of Thunder crits pretty well, and that means that we can also slam on crit supports, which means it's going to feed energy into our cast on critical setup. We don't need to worry as much about critting every time on Falling Thunder because we're only casting this once. You know, we're only casting it every now and again. It's not like a fast hitting skill. There are going to be times like if I just threw down a Falling Thunder and it was the only thing that could proc cast on crit. Well, if I had 70% crit, that'd mean that, you know, well, let's say 75. That means 1 in every 4. I just wouldn't get any power charges back because I wouldn't crit. But while having Herald of Thunder doing all the critting for us, now don't get me wrong, Falling Thunder is going to crit and it's going to do a lot of damage because of that. But Herald of Thunder is going to be that consistency, fueling the engine of crits to cast out Profane Ritual. So that's exactly how that works. And then, of course, because of Charge Profusion 2, as I mentioned, you get these buffs from Charge Regulation. 27% more critical hit chance, 21% more defense, 16% more skill speed. And this is one thing, and you have them up pretty much all the time. This is Energy Shield, Evasion, Crit, Skill Speed. Crazy. Very, very good. So that's the engine of the build. And now there are 3 other skills that we are yet to talk about. Tempest Flurry being kind of like the builder. You saw I pressed it for maybe 3 seconds in that map showcase. Yeah, I pressed it for 3 seconds, got my first set of power charges, then I'm off to the races, right? Charge Staff didn't even activate. Obviously, it's a very good skill, but didn't even need to activate. If you're just speed farming, you don't even really need it. Hand of Chayula, that this is more for single target, right? So on single target, you need a way to generate power charges because if our main source of generating power charges is on corpses, well, bosses aren't going to have corpses. Also, if they're making the game much harder, if they're adding this like mob effectiveness and there are going to be some duels with rares or whatever, then you're going to need a way to generate charges, and the way to do that is Hand of Chayula. How, Milky? Well, Hand of Chayula is socketed with Sniper's Mark, which is going to give us frenzy charges, but it's also socketed with Culmination, which means it can gain combo. Now, it can't gain infinite combo anymore, but it can gain up to 20. And what that's going to mean is that Eilith's Chimes is going to give us 25% chance to gain a power charge when expending that combo, and this can exceed 100%. It's buffed to 25, by the way. It does say 10 there, I know. So we got 20, and we got 25% each, so that's 5 power charges after we attack 20 times, basically, with Tempest Flurry, which takes, what, 2-3 seconds. Brilliant. So 2 or 3 seconds of attacking with Tempest Flurry, Hand of Chayula, bang, Falling Thunder, huge damage. Maybe we have to do it twice now because obviously Culmination got nerfed. But I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? Like I described, that's 5 seconds. So you do that twice, that's 10 seconds. And that's basically the build. It really does come down to being that simple. Gearing is not particularly difficult. Now, I did go CI this league. Obviously, gearing was a lot easier this league. I didn't end up going CI. I'm debating not going CI this league. Just because, by the way, my tree is absolutely cooked. I've just been trying stuff out. I have been trying a few bits and bobs out. Not having to gear Chaos Resistance was nice to like free up some suffixes. Excuse me. You definitely can work around it, right? It's possible. I'll probably still end up going CI anyway, but there is some merit to going hybrid, especially since your recovery on ES did get nerfed with Ghost Dance. Since the ES recovery got nerfed substantially, going hybrid could be a thing, so you can have things like life on kill, or you've got access to your potion and all that. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world once we get to the late game. We're close to I don't take any recharge nodes right now. I'm relying entirely on Ghost Dance. So there is a world where you just come in and grab like Chakra of Breathing. There's these nodes down here, Quick Response. You could be in here grabbing like all these Energy Shield nodes. You could come down, grab Pure Energy. 30% energy shield. There's all these nodes up here. We're in good proximity to getting a ton more AS. The problem is, obviously, you want a good amount of attack speed and move speed. So pay no attention to this tree, by the way. This is super cooked. It's just from trying stuff out. Next question is going to be mana. So mana did get changed on this new patch. I'm really not a fan of what they're doing. I thought this node was great. Obviously, solving your mana in one button, not really solving it in one button. Like, you still have to get the roll on your gear. This just means that the roll on your gear actually does something for you. This can be solved. Obviously, you saw the mapping was fine. We have mana on kill. You could get this on a jewel. You can see I'm missing a jewel, as I say, super scuffed right now. But yeah, you can get mana and kill on a jewel, and that is more than enough to sustain you. The problem is you're not going to be able to just spam Tempest Flurry. You're still going to want like a leech roll on your gear, and there is going to be a new support that they mentioned, a new support, lineage support, that gives you the effect of Walker of the Wilds, but obviously you can only put that on one thing. So you'll probably put that on Tempest Flurry for bosses. You'll probably swap it out of efficiency. Obviously Riggswald's getting changed as well, but you still keep this on. But yeah, you just swap out efficiency to Walker in the Wilds for single target, and it's essentially the same deal. So yeah, honestly, everything's looking pretty sound for us based on everything I've seen different. There are a few things that got changed for Monk that will affect us as well, like Frozen Locust getting changed for leveling means that you can actually probably level better as quarterstaffs, which was obviously a big deal in the past. People always like end up leveling as like maces or bows, and I think that's like really sad. Yeah, I get why people do it, but I think it's really sad, right? Like they should make quarterstaff leveling like somewhat passable in Act 1 and 2. Then the big elephant in the room, I know a lot of people love Hallow Palm. You do get 18% more APS at the point that you select it now. It goes from 1.4 to 1.65. But unfortunately, in the end game, if you consider like with decent gear, you got 26 less APS, and this is factoring this in, right? So it's a ton less APS on good gear. Not sure why they hit it so hard. Granted, I wasn't a fan of it last league. Just, I don't know. I liked the idea. I liked having to craft the weapon, basically, and I liked the big bonks from Falling Thunder, and yeah, I liked it that way. Maybe I'm just contrarian. I don't know. Who cares? But yeah, I think they overdid it a little bit. It's really, really nerfed. It's still fine early on. Like it's going to be good to take. If you don't find a good weapon, definitely spec Hallow Palm. It's going to carry you through leveling. But yeah, substantially nerfed. They did buff, Thunder Fist as well. Gave it 40% more damage, and they gave the spell itself crit equal to what you would get basically if you had a pretty good weapon. So that's good. The actual crackling palm, or whatever it's called, from Thunder Fist will actually scale properly with your crit now, instead of you randomly having a third of the crit chance on that spell compared to your actual attack. So yeah, there's maybe something there with Thunder Fist, but I'm not too optimistic about Hallow Palm. I think they have one league in the sun and then they're getting rid of it. What else? We have just a couple of bits and bobs that affected some Monk stuff, but that's about it. There are some other stuff I'm looking into. Like I'd love to change somehow from Tempest Flurry into maybe some other kind of builder, because obviously there's weapon swap available to us. We could go any single weapon swap skill in the game. We could be like Molten Blast, Bone Shatter, Whirling Slash. We could be the new Wolf Shapeshifts if there's some cool ones. But the problem with it is combo is lost on weapon swap. So right now, obviously, I would build combo with Tempest Flurry and then Hand of Chayula and then Falling Thunder. If you do those things, but at any point you weapon swap, you don't have your combo. So we wouldn't be able to build charges on single target, which is kind of frustrating. Which does kind of lock us into exclusively quarterstaff skills. But if they made it so you could use combo through weapon swaps, that would open it up. Because combo actually doesn't need to be a quarterstaff attack. If you look here, it just needs to be a melee attack. But obviously, if combo doesn't persist through swapping, then it has to be a quarterstaff, you know? So it kind of does have to be a quarterstaff without saying it does. But yeah, anyway, that's enough rambling. I will be playing this build. Both build guides on Max Roll will be updated. Ice Strike, still absolutely great. Ice Strike got a buff in terms of like, because you would like basically be a 2-button build on the Ice Strike, right? You'd be Shattering Palm and Ice Strike, and getting these additional AoE clusters is really good for that. There is a bit of a worry that I have about Ice Strike, and that's going to be like mana sustain on bosses, because you'd have to basically drop a damage link on Ice Strike for the mana sustain. Like on this build, it's not that bad, right? Because Tempest Flurry is literally a builder. But on the Ice Strike build, Ice Strike is your damage. So for single target. So dropping a support on that would be kind of rough. But maybe I can figure something out for it. It might just be fine with a Fizz Leech roll, or maybe you can put the support on like Bell or something. That would sustain you. I think that probably will be it. You'll put the support on Bell, or maybe you do just put it on Ice Strike and you have enough damage regardless with like Bell and all that kind of stuff. But that remains to be seen. I will be starting off as Ice Strike until I get to like 3rd lab and then try out the Falling Thunder cast on crit setup. But yeah, anyway, that's enough rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it gets cut down to much less than it is now. You tell me that when I am ending this video, the recording is 16 minutes long, okay? So you look at how long the video is, and that is how much absolute shit I spoke in those 16 minutes. So good luck, Gooby, who is the editor, who you should all type 07 to in the chat. See you next time.